So, it's been a long time since I made my last video, but I'm back. But welcome back to the second episode of the where I make a build that fits the story of whatever character from whatever movie, with the caveat that I'm not allowed to use any duplicate perks, nor am I allowed to use that character's teachable perks. And the character we're going to be doing today is Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. One of my personal favorite movies in the entire franchise. For our first perk, we have Mindbreaker. Freddy's goal throughout this entire movie is to try to break down Jesse mentally as much as he possibly can, so that Jesse will surrender control of his body, Freddy can possess him, and wreak havoc onto Elm Street. And some things he does is making Jesse see things that are not actually there, terrorizing him in his dreams, egging Jesse on to kill for him, and then taking control of his body and making Jesse do things that he just does not want to do. Which leads into our next perk, Hex Plaything. Freddy uses Jesse as a puppet in this film, manipulating him to do things that are just out of his character, like going into the basement and retrieving the finger knives from the first film, going into his sister's room and nearly killing her with those finger knives, and then eventually Jesse loses control and ends up killing Coach Schrader. And it gets to the point where Jesse cannot hold back Freddy any longer, which leads into our next perk, Unbound. Freddy has finally done it. He has brought himself into the real world with his dream powers intact, and now he can unleash mayhem onto Springwood. First, he kills Jesse's friend, and then he terrorizes a local pool party, doing things such as disappearing, reappearing, slashing people, throwing people, incinerating people, fire all around him, and delivering one of my favorite lines in any Nightmare film.
You are all my children now.
For our final perk, we have Hex No One Escapes Death. After defeating Freddy with the power of love, Jesse and Lisa are very confident that there's nothing Freddy can do anymore. He's back to hell where he belongs and he can't hurt them. And even after Jesse has a bit of a panic attack, their friend Carrie is there to reassure him by saying,
Jesse, it's okay. It's all over.
That is about it for the build. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video, and also thank you guys a lot for 8,000 subscribers. We are 2,000 away from my new goal of getting 10,000 before Halloween the game drops, so hopefully we can get there pretty soon. Who knows, maybe I'll make it 15,000 if we get there like next month or something like that. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Before we get into the likes and dislikes for A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, I would just like to say that this movie does have a lot of what is it called? Homoerotic undertones, if you can even call it that. I mean, you can't even really call it undertones because they were not being subtle with it whatsoever, but this movie just has a lot of gay subtext is what I'm trying to say. And considering that I myself am not gay, I will not be addressing it, I won't be analyzing it or anything like that. Because, you know, why talk about it if I don't have any experience with it? I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm going to talk about it how I usually talk about movies, and that's just what is on screen, what I think about it, and all that stuff. You know, you guys know me. I don't really care about story. I don't really care about subtext. My favorite movie in the Halloween franchise is Halloween Kills, for Christ's sake. Obviously, I don't care about subtext. I am just here for all the badassery that is going on, and this movie has a couple moments, and I cannot wait to talk about it. But starting off with my very first like about this movie, it is the opening. I am a very big fan of this opening, and honestly I would argue that this is probably one of the best dream sequences in an opening, or just a dream sequence in general in the entire franchise. Here I am dealing in absolutes, but this opening is just so badass, man. It starts off with Jesse on the bus, and for some reason his hair is all gelled down. Some girls are making fun of him. Understandably, he does look a little goofy in this opening. And then all of a sudden the bus driver turns into Freddy Krueger, drives off-road, drives into onto a canyon, like they're stuck on this pillar that is just over the pits of hell. Then Freddy gets up, cackles at them with this red light behind them, all this smoke, and then starts slowly making his way towards Jesse, and then grinding his nails on the seats, grinding it on the ceiling. Like, so many cool shots in this opening alone. It's so fucking badass, man. And then finally wakes up, Jesse screams like a little girl, and then the rest of the movie starts. It's a fucking badass opening. It's one of my favorites in the entire franchise, and I absolutely love it. Did I already say that? For my next like, I have the new rules established for this movie, and a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with me on that, because a lot of people actually don't like this movie because they quote-unquote broke the rules of the original, which I kind of agree to an extent, but I also have always seen it as them introducing new rules to the franchise that we just didn't know were possible before. You know, adding a little bit more spice to the Freddy mythos. Do I think they went a little over the top with it? A little bit, but I think it is just such an interesting concept. But let's get into exactly what I mean. We'll talk about the rules established in the first movie and then the second. In the first movie, is established that Freddy is a man who lives in people's dreams and is able to manipulate it how he wants, and if he kills you in your dreams, you die in real life. Pretty simple. And he is restricted to the dream world unless he is pulled out of it by force, and thus he is stripped of his powers, and he's basically just a very burnt man. That's pretty much it, with a little bit of more durability, a little bit more strength here and there. You know what I mean. But in this movie, they made a new rule that makes it so that Freddy can actually possess people, and if he's able to break the mental and kind of corrupt the person that he is possessing, he can turn them basically into a doorway to the real world, thus keeping his powers intact. So basically, he's a god among men in the real world. He's able to conjure fire, he's able to, disappear and reappear out of thin air. He's able to teleport. He's able to create all these monsters. He's able to manipulate people's minds. It is such a interesting concept, and I really wish that they did it more in this franchise, but they kind of just ditched it altogether and made this movie to be like the black sheep of the franchise, which I hate so much. But I really do like this concept. I really do like this concept. We kind of did it a little bit in Freddy vs. Jason, which I really do appreciate. Thank you, James Wan. You did a great service to those Nightmare 2 fans.
I misspoke right there. I meant to say Ronnie Yu, who directed The Bride of Chucky, which is also a pretty damn good movie. So, much respect.
And honestly, a lot of the scenes with Freddy possessing Jesse in this movie is pretty damn cool as well. Like, for example, the shower scene with Freddy manifesting out of the fog when Jesse is taking a shower and then slicing Schrader in the back. Such a cool scene. And then my favorite scene in the entire movie, the pool party massacre, which is actually my next like. Now, I do have one gripe about the pool party massacre, and that is that it just doesn't feel like something Freddy would do. Like, you never really got that Freddy was like this roid rage massacre kind of guy. You don't think they would just go around and just slice people up left and right. You know, he's more of like a one-on-one kind of guy. You know, he's going from, one person to the next. But in this one, he's just full-fledged, like, rah, I'm coming after you, rah, ye slice, shing, shing, fire. It's just, it's so chaotic, but honestly, I really like it. Like, this entire sequence was just so badass, man. Like, okay, we have Jesse who's in the house, and Freddy is starting to come out, and Jesse starts to feel him. But outside at the pool itself, the pool is boiling, the hot dogs are popping, the lights are bursting, people aren't able to leave because the bars to the actual gate are like drying their hands and stuff like that. And then eventually Freddy does pop out, and Lisa tries to stab him. She can't do anything about it. He laughs in her face when she stabs him in the shoulder and everything, but then Jesse pops out and not pops out, but kind of forces Freddy to leave Lisa alone, and then he has his little roid rage incident, bursts through a door, disappears, and then pops out of some hidden compartment and just goes ham on everybody. It is just such a bad scene, and has one of my favorite lines in the entire franchise. "You are all my children now." It is so cool, dude. Oh, the fire bursting out behind him, people are just dying left and right, being incinerated. It is just a badass scene, and honestly, this movie just has so many great special effects. Like, for example, Jesse's transformation, the fire, the teleportation stuff, everything about the the special effects about this movie is just so good. Oh, I just wish they did some more of this in this franchise, but they don't. I mean, the closest we get to it is Freddy vs. Jason, but that was just more so Freddy's going ham on Jason, not really anybody else. But oh my god, I love this scene so much. And speaking of Jesse's transformation and Jesse's downfall, that is my next like, Jesse's mental deterioration and transformation. So throughout this entire movie, Freddy is trying to whittle down Jesse and break down him mentally so that he can actually possess him and take over his body and do what I said before, basically be Freddy in the real world, which is pretty damn cool. And the acting by the actor of Jesse, I forget his name, but he did a phenomenal job just slowly falling deeper into madness as this movie goes along. Like at first, you know, he gets the typical nightmares from Freddy. He wakes up in a cold sweat. He doesn't understand why he's having these dreams. And then eventually he ends up sleepwalking and actually finding himself going into the basement, going out at night, going into his sister's room and almost killing his sister as well. And then eventually he goes and meets up with Schrader, falls asleep in the shower, and then Freddy takes over his body and kills Schrader. But Jesse doesn't know if this was a dream or if it was real or anything like that. He just thinks that he went sleepwalking and ended up in the middle of the highway. And then he finds out that he actually did kill Schrader, and then it just gets worse and worse from there until eventually, you know, he needs somebody to watch after him, so he goes to Grady's house. And then the transformation scene with Jesse turning into Freddy is some of the best special effects I have personally ever seen in these nightmare movies. You know, the Jesse like puppet or like the Jesse mold thing was kind of like his teeth and all that stuff didn't really look all that great. But everything else with the finger knives coming out of Freddy's hands, with him popping out of Jesse like a butterfly coming out of a chrysalis, which is pretty damn cool. And also after when he kills Brady and then goes back into Jesse, you could see Freddy taunting Jesse in the mirror. It's so fucking cool, man. I really wish that they would do this more in the franchise, but they just don't. Please do more of it. For my final like, and this is a bit of a small one, I'm not really going to get too in depth about this, but it is the ending sequence. Now, I don't mean the part where, you know, Lisa comes to save Jesse and the power of love brings Jesse back to life. I don't mean that part. I think that was really corny. I didn't really like that all that much. But I mean the ending where, you know, Jesse's on the bus with Lisa and the girl, and, you know, they're driving off. Jesse gets a little freaked out that, you know, the driver's going a little too fast, kind of reminding him of the opening of this movie. But it turns out it's just a normal bus driver, or so he thinks. The girl behind him says, "Oh, it's all over." Then, jump scare, and they whisked off into the distance, which I think is actually the first actual confirmed, like, actual ending kill of the Nightmare franchise. You know, we saw it in Nightmare 1, but it turns out Nancy never died and she actually survived and she went on to Nightmare 3. But this is actually the first time we see Jesse getting whisked off, Freddy takes him away, and he's never to be seen again, which actually I think makes it a lot better. I mean, there are a couple theories that Jesse was like hinted at in Nightmare 3 with the guy who slit open his eyelids to stay awake, but it's never confirmed on whether that was him or not. So this is actually just basically, you know, Jesse dying, and I love that. I love that the fact that he just didn't get away. That's really about it about that. Now let's get on to the dislikes. For my first dislike, I have Coach Snyder, which is pretty obvious. Like, nobody likes Coach Snyder. He's a bit of an asshole, and he's kind of designed to be so. He's supposed to be that guy you don't like and you want to see die, and I very much did enjoy seeing him die. He had a pretty damn cool death scene with Freddy popping out of the fog and then hoisting him up onto the shower heads and then gutting him like a fish. Very, very cool death scene. And also, there's a theory that I've heard going around about this scene in particular that kind of paints Freddy in a bit of a heroic manner, which I really don't like all that much, but it does make sense for Snyder's character, and that is that Snyder was actually going to assault Jesse. You can kind of imagine what I mean when I say that, but for a little bit of context, Snyder, for some reason, had pulled some jump rope out of the equipment closet at the school. What are you doing with those jump ropes, Snyder? What are those for? And like I said, it's theorized that he was going to assault Jesse, and Freddy actually saved Jesse, which, like I said, I don't really like that because, you know, Freddy's not a hero, he's a villain, he's supposed to be pure evil, but it does make sense for Snyder's character, so I do like it at the same time. I'm very conflicted in this. I just wanted to share that. For my next dislike, I have the lack of individual dreams. I hate how they basically just stuck with Jesse the entire movie for the dreams. You know, you never saw into like the thoughts of like his sister, but you know, that's because Freddy never invaded anybody's dreams except Jesse. So it was really not that great. Like, the only two good dream sequences in this movie was the very beginning of the movie and the very end of the movie, but you can kind of just put those two together and make them the same one because they're basically the same dream. You know, also the, what's it called? The, not interrogation, but like the proposal scene where Freddy kind of says, "You got the body, and I've got the brains, and then slices his head open. That was pretty cool as well, but there was nothing really kooky going on. It was just Jesse sleepwalking and then Freddy popping out of some random corner. That's really about it, and I really didn't like that all that much. I really wish they had more dream sequences, like him invading Lisa's mind or invading Brady's mind or somebody else except Jesse. I don't mind Jesse, but please, a little bit more variety, please. Next up on my dislikes, I have the relationships in this movie, and honestly, the relationships just really annoyed the hell out of me. It kind of felt like how, watching my younger self interact with people a little bit, being very obnoxious or very annoying or something like that. A lot of the relationships in this movie were very fucking annoying. Like the dad character, the dad was such a fucking douchebag. I'm sure that was trying to portray like a realistic kind of nuclear family kind of dad, but like, dude, just shut the fuck up for 5 fucking seconds. What do you mean I put a cherry bomb in the fucking bird? What do you mean by that? But also, Jesse and Lisa's relationship, I didn't mind it all that much. I just wish that Jesse was just a little bit more into Lisa. Like, they say they love each other at the very end of the movie, but I don't really buy it. Maybe that's the acting on the actor's part, or just the lack of chemistry or something like that, but it just never felt like they actually cared about each other. But that could just contribute to the context of the movie being, the whole gay context, but I'm not gonna fucking dive into that. Brady and Jesse's relationship was also a little weird here and there. They start off hating each other, and then they like each other, and then they hate each other, and they like each other. Brady's bullying Jesse at some points. Like, it just doesn't make sense sometimes. The relationships are just so freaking weird. And then also the relationship between Jesse and fucking Snyder. Like I said before, fuck that relationship. That's not relationship. What am I saying? I'm going insane. And for my final dislike about this movie is the whole Freddy's Fortress ending scene where Lisa's coming to save Jesse, and then she goes through this whole like haunted house situation. She pulls up and there's a bunch of like dogs with baby faces, like rotting baby faces, which, what the fuck are those? Like, what the hell are those, dude? And they didn't even do anything to what's her name? Lisa. I meant Lisa. They didn't even do anything to Lisa. She just walked right past them, and they did absolutely goddamn shit all. What is their purpose, Freddy? Just to scare her off? Didn't work. And then she ends up going through this whole like boiler room thingy and falling and not actually falling. She kind of, for some reason, Freddy made it seem like she fell, but she didn't fall. She had bugs all over her. She had maggots in her little bite wound. There's fire going all around her. Like, it's a cool sequence, but it just doesn't make sense all that much. Maybe just Freddy's influence in general, like the aura of Freddy is what made all this happen. But like, she basically got through the entire quote-unquote haunted house unscathed, unbothered, just a little startled here and there. I found that very annoying. No stakes whatsoever. She was in no danger at all this entire movie. So that is about it for the likes and dislikes. I apologize if this was a little shorter than expected. I'm still kind of getting into the groove of things after being gone for like a month. So yeah, I apologize for that, but let's get into the Loomis meter. What this is a scale from 1 to 6.
I shot him 6 times!
1 being bad and 6 being amazing. And for A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, I'm going to be giving it a 4 times out of 6. Freddy's Revenge is probably one of my favorite movies in the entire franchise, and for good reason. It has some of my favorite scenes in the franchise, being the pool party scene, the bathroom scene, the opening scene. Like, a lot of things are so good about this movie, but there are a couple things that are kind of lackluster, like, some of the characters, and it's a little bit boring at the very beginning, especially when we're introducing everybody. It is lacking in some things, but it's also pretty good in other things. And I really, really like the concept of this version of Freddy being able to bring his dream powers into the real world. And I really wish they did that more often. Maybe if Blumhouse recreates the Nightmare movies and do the same thing they did with 2018 Kills and Ends and makes it kind of like a reflection of the first 3 movies, that'd be pretty cool. Have the second movie from the Blumhouse trilogy being the Possession movie. That'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, whatever. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought about Freddy's Revenge in the comments down below.
God damn you.